Hello, YouTubies! I've been wrapping this car. It's the first time I've ever done it, and I've put this video together to share with you the top tips, the mistakes I learned from, and the idea is I hope it will inspire somebody to give this a go themselves. Now, as I've gone around the car, with each panel, I've taken stock of my mistakes. I've tried different things. I've tried different techniques. So what I'm sharing in this video is all of the things to help maybe slingshot somebody else slightly further ahead than an absolute beginner prior to the first time they do this. Stick around.
First things first, what are you going to need? Wrap, obviously, preferably in the colour you want to wrap the car. Heat gun or a hairdryer will work. A hot air blower, a hot area, a sharp knife, sharp, very important. A squeegee or two with the material down the end. Highly recommend don't go for a super cheap one because these can still scratch the wrap. Get the right kind of material at the top, which should be sort of cotton based or felt. And to make life easier for those hard to reach and difficult areas, get one of these cheap plastic, I mean it looks like what dentists use, but these little trim tools, little pokers, and that sort of thing. And then there's going to be what you want to have. You're going to want to have lots of patience, a fair amount of time, and if at all possible, and this is the bit for me that was really unfeasible, some friends and some extra pairs of hands, or an extra pair of hands, but you know, some of us don't have any friends.
Obviously, this video is a little bit of a do as I say, not as I do. Look at your circumstances, but you're going to need to put a good amount of time and effort into the preparation, much like painting. So, if you're going to do it all pretty quickly, give the car a proper clean. I would then give it a good claying, so you can take contaminants out of the paint, ultimately trying to make it as smooth as possible. Anyone who ever clayed a car before will know, as you go, you get that very satisfying feeling where it starts off kind of grainy, and then suddenly it wants to fly, and is often what contributes to the clay flying out of your hand. So give the car a proper wash, clay it down, and then you should be ready to go. I've been wrapping this very slowly over a number of weeks in the evenings when I get a bit of time, so I'm just cleaning panel by panel when I get to it, which is not the best way, but it then saves me washing the car, and then the various bits of dust and stuff end up landing on it, and I'm going to do it again anyway. Also, I don't know how often I'm getting out to then do some of this, so that worked for me. If you're doing the same, no harm in doing it. So clean the car down. The other thing you really want to look for in terms of prep is other high areas, so or low areas, or areas that are going to distort the wrap coming from behind. So I found a couple of patches of bubbly rust on the wing, which I had to sand down, smooth out, and then I actually ended up putting some more clear coat on them to give a slightly stickier, well, smoother surface that the wrap would prefer to stick to. Didn't do the best job, and some of those bubbles were still remaining. So you've got to look at the car itself. So it's not completely, I can wrap it and hide all the blemishes. You absolutely can't. It will show them through. Depending on what you're going with, you might get away with it. If you've got a bit of a livery, or like particularly maybe darker colours, you probably will. Lighter colours, it might show a bit more. And you want to look at scratches, scuffs, dents, anything like that. You want them to be in order before you do. If you watch my video where I showed how I went through before the first go of wrapping it, there were bits on the boot that I was sanding, filling where there'd been rust, smoothing over, painting in order to get ready to be able to wrap it. So if you could see it on the outside, you'll probably be able to see it through the wrap. The color change might help hide it, but if you're trying to go for perfect, which maybe you're not the first time you do it, but do expect to make sure the car is absolutely clean and is as smooth and flat as possible before you start sticking any vinyl anywhere near it. I'm expecting this video to most relate to people who want to give this a go for the first time. So a very quick shout, if you like, to the idea of managing your expectations. If you want it to be perfect, you probably can get it to be perfect, but it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of mistakes that you need to learn from as you go. That would be my personal opinion and experience of it. If you lower your expectations though and expect to do a pretty decent job, my advice would be get on and give it a go, because worst case scenario, if it all goes absolutely totally terribly, you can tear all of it off and you will do no damage to the car. There will be never any evidence that anything was ever done at all. So give it a go. It's very, very satisfying and rewarding. You can put in the effort, you can feel proud of it, and you can transform the look of a car, even if it's not perfect. This is nowhere near perfect, but I'm very happy with how it looks. I've encountered some very difficult bits along the way, like I've been told door handles are terrible. I think they look great. The car looks completely different. It looks a lot more exciting, and I did this. So if someone comes and points out a mistake, I'm like, yep, I did that because it was my first time and I gave something a go. Have the right expectations of yourself, and if it's something you want to have a go at, I would highly recommend it. You can't really go wrong. Don't ever put the knife through the wrap while it's on the car, because you'll leave a scratch behind underneath. Other than that, you can't go wrong. Have a go, get stuck in, fail a bit, learn from your failures. I definitely did. And then enjoy the result afterwards.
We'll talk about smoothness. So each panel, as I'm doing it, you should wash the car first, but I'm actually claying each of these before, because I'm not doing this within a couple of days. This is a couple of hours an evening, most evenings, but it's not a one solid job. So I found a small rust patch under here, which looks pretty nasty, but I've actually sanded that so it's quite smooth. It's probably still going to show when we wrap it, but it's going to be under the wing mirror, and I'm not trying to get this perfect. It's my first time. My expectations have been measurably set. That bit there I don't need to worry about, because that's where the wing mirror actually sits. You're not going to see it at all. That bit there is a little bit rough, but again, that's where the wing mirror sits, so that's okay. What I probably want to pay attention to if I wanted to do a perfect job is this quite deep scratch in here. You could sand that down and smooth it. Obviously, if you want good paint underneath, you need to actually fix that first. I don't. This car's not worth it, but on a car that is worth it, you'd want to be putting some more top coat on that. It's only a white scratch. It's probably only in the top coat. There's another one just down here. I don't know if you can hear that it's just slightly rough. I'm not going to do anything about that one because there's worse parts on the car anyway, and it's the first go. But try and get every panel smooth and clean to the best that you can. Don't be scared to go and sand some bits when you are cleaning it. This is largely in the prep as well as the application, a bit like painting. I have learnt the hard way. So make sure your surfaces are smooth and clear. In the instance of like rust bubbles, for example, so I did have some coming along here. Now you may see a couple of dots in that bit there where I didn't do the best job sanding it, but here there was some bad ones, and you'll see that one is smooth because I took the time to really sand it out, and then I put some top coat on it and I waited for that to cure properly, which is another reason this has taken so long. But it is a 20-something-year-old car. We'll get there eventually.
And a last final share before I start actually showing some wrap and talking about how you're going to plan it. A couple of like don'ts, if you like. Definitely do use the heat if you need it. I was using it way too much at the beginning. It definitely seemed to shorten maybe the life, if you like, of the material eventually. You can burn through it. And actually what I've learned as I've gone further and further is I only need to really use it for doing the edges and getting in the little seals. A lot of the time the wrap's actually quite forgiving and you can pull it straight just in itself, where you avoid stretching it because it's not hot or anything, and you can get most of the work done there. So don't go mad with the heat. Use it when and as you need to, and definitely do not let the wrap ever touch anything than the panel that it's going to go on. There's obviously sticky on one side. If you drop it on the floor or anything like that, that piece is toast. Get rid of it. You're going to have a nightmare. Even if you get it flat, all the contaminants it's picked up are going to show through because it is very thin stuff. And the last don't, if you like, is don't pull off your backing off of the wrap until you are ready to actually lay it on the piece that you're doing. So if you're still measuring up, do it with the backing on and have the backing come off only at the point you are ready to start applying it. Now let's talk about actually wrapping this thing. Now I'd highly advise when you're doing the car, And if it's your first time, which is what this video is really for, go for the smaller parts and the easiest parts first. So in my case, it was the fuel filler door on the other side. Knocked that bit out first, got a bit of a feel for what the material could do. I then moved to the spoiler, which is currently in the car because I'm still doing it, as you can see. And then moved on to pieces like the top of the boot here. That was actually quite easy. That came out quite nice. This is quite a nice little panel on this car to go and do because it's relatively small, relatively simple, but the difficulty levels increased, and that helped me then go and do more complicated bits, as you can see, and then take into account extra divots and things like that. These are simpler. You've got the outer shape, this inner shape here. So yeah, have a think about how you're going to approach it, and be careful when you're cutting your wrap, because if I cut just this piece off here, and it was from a longer roll, I didn't use longer rolls. If anyone watched that video, the whole challenge was do it as cheap as possible, and that's shorter rolls, not lengthwise, but width. And if you're doing it from a longer roll and you just cut out this piece, well, try not to waste the piece at the bottom, because otherwise you're just going to end up spending a fortune on more and more wrap to eventually get the car done. Yeah, let's wrap a panel. I want to attempt to show you a couple of things I found that I didn't do initially, started doing, had a lot more success with like starting to get a panel. So naturally I've measured out that I've got enough and then some wrap for this piece that I'm going to do here. It's a lot easier than just peeling the whole thing to actually peel just a little bit, use the stickiness of the wrap to just hold itself in place, pull the backing out. This starts putting the wrap excuse me, onto the door or the piece you're doing. Get rid of that. I found, like, some people were recommending you leave like the last bit on, helps you pick it up and stuff, but for me I always found if I've got enough space to leave that piece on, I've cut the piece too big. And then don't be scared to take it off. So we've got some edges, so it doesn't really matter what happens to these. Don't be scared to take it off and put it where it needs to be. Now what I'm doing is I put it on, and this for me was actually game changer. This was the #1 thing that changed how I went about doing a lot of these pieces. Is don't be scared to pull it a little bit, or even a lot potentially, because it's quite strong stuff, before you apply any heat, because it's less likely to stretch. You're just pulling it to make it taut because you want it to be a flat surface. So generally go around, I'll pull it on and off a few times. I find working horizontally easier. So if my folds like this are horizontal, I know I can work with that because I can pull down from the top and pull down from the bottom, and then you've got to choose where to start committing to. So if I've got all the coverage I want, I haven't, I'll take it off, do it again. A bit lower this time, make sure I'm high enough at the top. You won't have this like such a problem if you use full-size wrapped rolls. If I put that there, that should be high enough. It's not over enough. This is the bit where a second set of hands would really, really be handy. Be helpful. I'm going to start telling people about making sure they've cut enough wrap and then realise I might not have done. And when you see the big creases, now I can start pulling it. And I watched a lot of videos of a lot of different people, and I watched this guy called Paradox the Rapper, and I'll probably put a link in if you want to go check it out, where he had people go and do it on their own car, but he's showing them what to do. And a lot of the stuff that was in there I found the most useful, as opposed to some of the other stuff that maybe conflicted with some of that information. Now for me, the place to start is with what sticks out the furthest. So in this door, there's a line about here, and I'm just gently just going to rub that with my hand to find it. It's right about where the door's locked. Now what I will do is I will work my way down here with the squeegee with a very light pressure at first. You really shouldn't have to be doing it hard. And I work my way away from this line and out. And the reason for that is, once I've got this bit down here, then I can start pulling that corner down. And then as I get like a wrinkle, I don't know if the camera will pick up this one that's here, but once I've got enough here that it will hold, I can pull this up again, and then I'll just pull it until it wants to go where it's going to go. And then actually you can get away with using very little heat and therefore potentially compromising any of the material. And you just slowly work your way around. Don't do what I do. We start seeing bits and start fingering it everywhere, like just get your squeegee. So now what I'm going to do, probably on a time lapse, I'm just going to work my way out from here, maybe pull down where I've got to, pull it the way of the door. You can pull it harder than you think you can, generally. Says the guy who went through a bit on his bumper, but I overheated that far too many times. So I'm going to go this is quite an easy panel, I have to say, that I've gone for, but I'll maybe come around and show you after what it looks like.
Just wanted to stop here to show this part for the tips. When you get little creases in it like this actually came from when I pulled the back paper off. All I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that part away from the car. I'm going to put a little bit of heat on it just until they disappear, and then I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to leave it alone until it cools down again, and then I'm going to continue smoothing it with the squeegee. Now, a little tip I've found that makes sure you're cutting enough is, the camera is picking this up differently. This is a flat surface, this is down, and then this is the edge of the window. Now, really, it'd be really easy, stick the knife in there, cut right along, but unless you go slightly over, you will find that you're too short. And that's what I found anyway, and had to redo the odd piece. So, cut slightly away from there is my advice if you're doing this the first time, and then give it some heat and really get it in there, but make sure you are as in there as possible before you cut. So I'm going to give this another whack of heat, really press it down in there, and then I'm going to cut.
So in summary, make sure you do your prep right, make sure you give it plenty of time to have a go, make sure you have enough material that you're not stressing about having a tear a piece off if you think it's terrible, and don't be scared to start again. When you actually apply the material, use the backing paper to help apply it in the first instance. Work your way out, in my experience, from the furthest outlaying part of the piece you're on in terms of profile, as from the middle as you can. So if I take the door as an example, if I was doing that in one piece, I would have started from here as it sticks out the most, even though it's not most in the middle, but from the middle of it. Work your way out, you're pushing all the air as you go, and then eventually the wrap will find its place. And if you get stuck, you can just pull a piece off and start again. Heat it if you need to take any creases or any folds out of it. Let it go back to that kind of glass. Stretch it again if you need to once it's cooled down. So don't stretch it while it's hot, because that's what will tear the color. Stretch it when it's cooled down and pull it where you need it to go, and pull it in different directions. That's where the spare set of hands or extra hands would really come in helpful. And yeah, I did all of this on my own. These are the tips that I found are the most helpful. And while I'm waiting for a little bit more wrap, because I didn't have quite enough, so I could finish it off, hopefully this video was helpful and might help somebody feel like they want to give this a go. I am about 140 quid in. I think that's what the total I've spent on the initial batch, and then the top up amount. So it can be done quite cheaply. Worst case scenario, I've learned some stuff. I've had a go at something, but it's coming out pretty well. If you're thinking about giving this a go, just go and do it. Go and have a go. Do your best. Be the best at what you can be. Give it your best effort. And if it turns out terrible at the end, at least you tried your hardest. You can't. That's not a loss in anybody's book. If that was helpful, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. See what the rest of the build's going to be like. There will obviously be a video soon where I finish the wrap and I do some very difficult pieces next, like the bumpers, which is going to be interesting. Put all these tips that I've learned myself into practice. And maybe follow us on Instagram if you want to keep up to date with when things are going to come out. That's at Granty's Garage as well. Give us a like, give us a comment as well if you want to help the channel out. Thanks so much. See you in the next one.